2017. But yeah, Ravens Commanders, obviously, that was a game which is a lot of people's pick of the week. I think Jayden Daniels continued to look almost like a seasoned vet despite them losing that. The only thing that I did find interesting though, Fred, was that Dan Quinn said, although we were in it at the end, it felt lopsided. Did you get that feeling as well? Obviously, the scoreline was close. It was just interesting for him to say that.
I think the Ravens we trust. I mean, this is from probably a fan point of view, and when we're watching it visually, not from coach's point of view. But when you look at that game and you see how close it's been, no matter how good the Commanders have been so far, this is Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens. Like this isn't a team that has just found a trend. This is a team that has been very good for a long time, and a quarterback who is very experienced, and a quarterback who has now gone from a one-dimensional to a dual threat. Like this is a quality team. This is an AFC Championship frontrunner in my mind. And the Commanders, though they have been incredibly impressive, and Jayden Daniels has been incredibly impressive as well, this is new. Like this is all new. Dan Quinn is new. Cliff Kingsbury's new. Jayden Daniels new. They are still finding their feet and they're still finding their rhythm. So, though we could watch them and go like, yeah, but they seem to have figured it out. He's incredible. He's playing incredible. They've got a high level. They're always going to have a chance to win with Daniels, leading this offense. Well, maybe they feel that a little bit like when the Vikings came over the other weeks ago, and the whole trend was like, we've not hit our ceiling. We're nowhere near as good as we think we should be. That might be the exact same feeling in their camp as well, that we're not where we're at yet, even though we're playing at an incredible level. But it's hard. It's hard to have 484 total offensive yards against you. And I mean, what was this? I mean, it was 13 extra minutes that the Ravens had on the ball and win. Like that's hard. Like, when you're 36 minutes against 20, well, just under 24 minutes, like you can see why you'd feel it's lopsided. They're on the ball way more. They were great on third down as well, the Ravens. And Washington couldn't get the run game going, considering they've got a pretty good run game over there at the minute. They're at the moment? They are. I haven't got the stat actually for where they are running wise. It's lost within my words there, but I know they've been doing pretty well with that, and they held them to 50. Yeah, but the Ravens held them to 52 yards. Like this team's legit. Like it's fun, but it was so close. It looks close on paper with 30-23, but this was experience over talent. In a way, I would say this sort of game, and that's experience of Harbaugh being there. I know Dan Quinn's been head coach, but Harbaugh's been there for so long. He knows his team inside out. They know themselves inside and out. And they had some players who played incredible. Derrick Henry's strength to strength within this team, even though he's great. Zay Flowers had a day, like what a breakout day. He silenced some critic. Well, he definitely silenced me because I said the other week Lamar's doing all this with nobody to throw to, really. And he went. So I got shown pretty quickly by Zay Flowers. So yeah, I think that I wouldn't worry about myself if I'm a Washington Commander. I don't worry about myself. They have got a direction they're going in. They're on a train that's heading in the right direction. So you're just saying in this game we came up against arguably the best team in the NFL at the minute. So
yeah,
I think the Commanders can take a lot of positives from this.
Ben, in terms of the Ravens, I mean, you spoke about Caleb and that overreaction. There was an overreaction from a lot of people, even half myself on one of the reviews we did with when Derrick Henry wasn't getting involved early on. But in this game, it was him again. It was Lamar. I mean, Henry had 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like Fred said, Zay Flowers, I think he had 9 catches and 132 yards just in the first half alone. If the Ravens are to go on and make a Super Bowl, because we know about Lamar's playoff record, is this the blueprint? Derrick Henry, like just doing what he's been doing, and he's only growing in this offense.
Yeah, I think so. And to be honest, watching the game, Lamar just looked like an MVP again.
Yeah.
The connection that he had with Zay Flowers in that first half, I thought there was something wrong with my feed. I thought they kept showing me the same play because they just kept going to Zay Flowers, who just kept getting open, making these crucial catches. But this Ravens team does seem like it is set up, to win a Super Bowl. Obviously, that's the goal. That's the way that they've been building. They're bitterly disappointed with how close they came last year, where they just did not look competitive in the AFC Championship game. As far as the Commanders go, I never really felt like they could have won that game, even at certain points where it was level. I just felt like you could see that the Commanders were viewing the Ravens as a benchmark, and that they were not at that level. They played really well. They played tough. you could see the difference between Lamar and Jayden, but Lamar played so well. Going back to Roquan Smith as well, there was a kind of battle going on with Jayden and Roquan Smith. In fact, the whole Ravens defense, it really is what I mean, where the intelligence that Jayden has to be able to kind of lead defenders a certain way, and Caleb was doing it as well, is fantastic. He's showing maturity beyond his years. It's really fun to watch both these teams. I think these are probably two playoff teams. You know, the Commanders are not in a particularly good division. You'd fancy them to do it, but in terms of Jayden Daniels, the best thing was the Ravens took away the run, and it was they took away all avenues, and it meant that Jayden Daniels wasn't able to get anything going, and he was forced to just be a passer, and he just stepped up. So if anyone was thinking, oh well, what happens if he can't use his legs? Well, he'll just do this as well. He'll just be accurate. His timing will be great. He's got a great connection with Terry McLaurin. It's going so well for Washington, and I'm really pleased for their fans, because I don't think any set of fans has actually, in this century, had it worse than Washington. And I'm sure Browns fans would say, you know, what about us? But all the Dan Snyder years, I know of Washington fans who felt like, I kind of love this team, but I also kind of hate this franchise.
Yeah.
And I know people who refuse to buy any merchandise, who now must be so excited with what they have. They're not just fun to watch, but it feels like they're being built the right way. They are going the right way, and it's a joy for everyone. We all get to enjoy it, perhaps unless you're a Eagles, Cowboys, you know, or Giants fan.
That's fine. We don't want them to be happy anyway. Fred, I don't know, we could talk about the Ravens all day, but just to, I guess, before we move on to, obviously, speaking of the Cowboys, them getting absolutely blown out by the Lions, do you agree with Ben's assessment with the Commanders being a playoff team? Because obviously the next three games are Panthers, Bears, and Giants, but I think that's like a wide, you know, thought now by everybody, sort of like, well, he's legit, and like Ben said, the division's weak, like, and people forget that Brian Robinson was out yesterday. I know, obviously, you spoke about the possession and the yards, etc. I think maybe for Jayden Daniels, like you said, he's probably coming out of it being like, well, my top running back was out. I'm still doing fine. So do you think they're in a good place to go on and still make the postseason?
Oh yeah, for sure. They are definitely in a close battle. I mean, like I said, with the NFC North, you've just got to see how that pans out. In terms of teams that are going to be in and amongst the mix. I know all four of them are sort of competitive in the minute, but you know that could be three of them or one of them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then you look at the Cowboys after yesterday, and the Giants ain't a bad team, but I don't think they're not getting to the playoffs. So then you could argue the Eagles maybe, but everyone's a little bit out. You know, if Sirianni doesn't keep his job, then that would be flips into the Commanders definitely going to win the division and everything like that. You look over in the West and you think, well, 49ers not playing to their maximum level. The Rams are all right. The Cardinals got sort of handed to them this weekend as well. They're maybe not as prolific as we have been saying about. And then you look in the South, and the Falcons are sort of find their stride now. The Bucs have been fantastic. So yeah, this Commanders team has beat some of these teams, and they will beat some of these teams moving forward. I'm dead excited. I'm so excited for Jayden Daniels in this moving forward. And Ben was right; he was fantastic in the air as well with throwing. I just think the Ravens were maybe a little bit too high level for him to overcome, I suppose. But yeah, the sky's the limit for them. I think even if they don't get to the playoffs this year, Ben's right with how upset the Commander Nation has been for this century. Like, even if they don't get to the playoffs, I would see every Washington fan being like, yeah, but this is an incredibly positive season. We see where we're going. We know where we're going.
Exactly.
I don't think it defines their season getting to the playoffs.
No. And this is one other thing on the Ravens and the kind of the weird start they had to the season. And I think we're going to start to see this every year now. So the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, especially, incredibly unpredictable. Anyone who's trying to pick games against the spread will see that, but there are so many upsets. And what we're seeing is fewer starters getting reps in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
So those first 2 or 3 weeks of the regular season, players are in effect having their preseason. So there are so many players who were not great the first couple of first couple of weeks. A lot of offenses that were not great the first couple of weeks, or some that were, because their preseason had gone a bit better. And now, look at the Saints. You look at that Saints team against, say, the Ravens, and how you might have judged that after 2 weeks of the season. The Ravens have had their preseason now. They're playing properly. It's big boy football now, and they're going to be difficult to stop.
That was a big statement. I like that. And yeah, the Saints.